morning, and it's another edition of Daybreak Africa on KAFTAN television. My name is Miracle Odunayo.
And yes, good morning once again. It's Daybreak Africa from KAFTAN television as well. My name still remains Ikhonede Joshua Deji.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning. All right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa. And yes, it's time to go straight into our discussions for today. Today on Daybreak Africa, I'll be looking at some of the struggles that the MSMEs face in Nigeria currently, and we'll be using this to review our business environment at this particular time in Nigeria. Now, recently, the NCGC, which happens to be the National Credit Guarantee Company, says 80% of micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria lack access to formal credit. Now, Bonaventure Okaimo, the managing director of NCGC, spoke recently during a stakeholders meeting. And one of the things he said bluntly was that macroeconomic headwinds and structural inefficiencies have severely limited access to credits for MSMEs despite their central role in Nigeria's economy. Now, citing the National Bureau of Statistics report, he said 40% of MSMEs make up the bedrock of the economy, contributing approximately 48% to the gross domestic product (GDP) and accounting for a vast majority of employment in Nigeria. Now, one of the things he asserted was that the funding gap for Nigerian MSMEs is staggering, as an estimated 80% of MSMEs lack access to formal credit due to unavailability of collateral requirement, high risk perception from lenders, and the inflationary pressure leading to high borrowing costs that have historically stifled MSMEs in Nigeria. Now, this is the topic we'll be looking at strictly today on Daybreak Africa. And to discuss with us, joining us online from Ogbomoso in the actual sense, is a technologist, also a businessman, and we are glad to have him on our show today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome our guest, Sam Olubunmi. Welcome to the show, sir.
All right. Thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
Welcome to the show, Sam. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Sam, thanks for joining us actually today. Let's go straight into our discussions for today. Let's talk straightly about the MSMEs. And we all know that MSMEs happens to be, not just the Nigerian economy, every economy in the world. Your medium, micro businesses are the ones that actually speak loudly about your GDP, about your economy. And now we are seeing this kind of revelation from Bonaventure Okaimo himself, who happens to be the leader, the chairman of NCGC, talking about the fact that 80% of MSMEs can't get access to credit in Nigeria at this particular time. You're a business person. How do you think this has affected the Nigerian economy so far on the macroeconomic scale?
I mean, this MSME paradox is a paradox, and it's very concerning in Nigeria, meaning that they contribute the largest to our economy, and 80% of MSME also lack direct access to credit. And this is very, very, very concerning. Imagine only people just about economy, whereby MSME account for over half for roughly 80% of the GDP. And this is as a result that it makes it difficult for MSME to actually do business in Nigeria, being stifled, and it's not even easy to run a business in Nigeria. Last year, you will see majority of these companies, they shut down their processes, their industry, and their factories in Nigeria to just move elsewhere, because the ease of doing business is being taken away. The lack to credit or insufficient, let me just put it that way, actually stifle growth and do not make our economy to attain the projected height, which ought to be like $1 trillion economy as at now.
Now, talking about this whole projected high of $1 trillion, let me even ask this. How possible do you see that happening in the next few years in Nigeria? Because I think that's the target of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in this tenure, talking about the fact that they want to take the Nigerian economy into a $1 trillion economy. How do you think that's even possible first? Just, I digress a bit at this particular time.
All right, thank you. I think it's something that is very achievable to do, because imagine if just 40% of the MSME are contributing up to 48% to the economy. Imagine raising the buffer that we could mobilize about 70 to 80% of the MSME, give them the necessary resources to achieve that will be easier, and also encourage more people to do business effectively in Nigeria. I think doing that alone, and with industrialization, which we could not put aside, we are already on track to $1 trillion economy. Even as at 2014, this is so evident. But due to the instability, like what the director said, this actually limit the access and limited the growth, and just make the whole economy digress a bit.
All right, so the MD made mention that 80% of Nigerians does not have the access to the credit stuff. So I would like to have, what do you think is the root causes of all of this? Because I don't feel like it's just normal. What do you think is the root cause of all the problem? Like 80% is a lot out of 100%. 80% of Nigerians does not have access to the credit. What do you think is the root cause of this?
Okay, I think first thing for me is that we are running a sort of maybe informal businesses model, I don't know, in Nigeria, right? And I think the president is working towards that to make sure everything is formal, right? But here are the four major challenges to MSME and business owner in Nigeria. The number one is collateral challenges. So many SME are informal and lack acceptable collateral. If you want to have access to loan credits for your businesses, the demand for the collateral actually worth much more than what you want to have access to. And there's a kind of perception in Nigeria generally that high risk perception that MSME in Nigeria are so volatile. Banks see them as volatile entity. They don't want to actually do business with them. Another thing is inflation and high interest rates. So this actually makes borrowing unattractive. Imagine you have access to a credit of 1 billion naira and you want to use it to actually put that into your business, and it's going to take 6 months to 1 year. And just imagine that before you even actually run your business for a year, the interest rates have increased by over 50%. This actually make borrowing unattractive and very, very much unaffordable. Another thing is that there's over-centralized financial services. Majority of MSME that even have access to credit are people located in high network cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. But if you look at secondary city like Ogbomoso, Ondo, and the rest of this secondary city, it's so much difficult to even have access to credit because you are not in the urban center. Yeah. So I think these four challenges pose a serious challenges and barrier to credit access for MSME business owner.
Okay, let me start from the last one you talked about here, where you talked about the fact that highly central financial stuff. Now, you talked about the fact that many of the banks prefers to give people that are maybe in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kano, or Abuja such kind of loans, not people in secondary places like maybe Ondo, Ogbomoso, Abeokuta, many of those states, which happens to be sometimes the industry points of, because I know Abeokuta, Shagamu and those areas are used to industry and all those kind of things. Now, do you think that's the fault of the MSMEs particularly, because, or maybe it's the fault of the bank themselves who doesn't really believe in those areas? Because the truth is, people are there too as well. Not everybody can be in Lagos, not everybody can be in Kano, not everybody can be in Abuja, not everybody can be in Port Harcourt. We'll definitely have people to at least run commercial activities in those areas, because where there is people, there will definitely be commercial activities. Do you feel that the banks themselves are not way open to those kind of opportunities that those kind of states portrays?
Okay, imagine you want to even have access to mortgage, maybe to buy factories and all of that. First and foremost, you won't find those banks in secondary city. You are going to find them maybe once in a while in state capitals, majorly concentrated in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. And just like you said, majority of the secondary places, they are hub for talent, hub for factories and processing of raw material. I think it's not the fault of the MSME owners, right? Because you want to situate your business nearest to raw resources, to raw resources, to factories, and ability to be able to do your business with ease, right? So I believe there should be a conscious effort on the part of the government and the bank to be able to develop even secondary cities. And this will be where the emergence, what is going to actually catapult our economy. So you can't just keep on to concentrate on over centralize the whole financial system revolving around just 3 cities. Nigeria is bigger than 3 cities.
37 states, for crying out loud. 37 all state. Now, there's my problem too as well. They talked about the place of collateral, access to collaterals and all those kind of things. And we know that now, when we talk about collaterals particularly, it shows that evidently startups, like people that are just starting new businesses and are just trying to just make their ways to the top and all that, will find it very difficult to access those. Okay, you are a business owner too as well, one way or the other. How have you been able to cope with this lack of fundings, particularly from banks? Talking about the fact that you want to build businesses, or maybe can you just share a few experiences with us? Because right now it seems to a very large extent, maybe MSME shouldn't even look at the banking sector at all at this particular time.
I guess to majority of the MSME who do not have connection or are well placed in all these concentrated areas, your best bet is to bootstrap your business, like run it yourself, source funds from family and friends, and all of that. So I guess it poses a difficult narrative, right? I don't even have access to credit. In Nigeria currently, our business do not have access to credit. And imagine that there's a time we are building fintech products majorly around credit, right? So, and we have to be able to be connected to the bureau, the change, those credit provider, right? So, and we are mandated to, they are requesting to take 5% of whatsoever they are able to secure from creditors. And this make startup or businesses very difficult. Just imagine you are starting out a company, a startup, or running a fintech service, and you are already down minus 5%. Just because for you to be able to access this, you need to engage on methodical approach, unorthodox approach by you settling people up to 5% to 10% of whatsoever access to credit you are being given.
So in addition to that question, I would like to speak from my own perspective and to hear from your own perspective too. Because I feel like if 80% are not getting this credit loan from the government, I feel like there is a way out. Maybe just forget about the credit stuff, just focus on raise money for yourself and do what you have to do. So what do you have to say about young people that are just starting up their business, or people that are even in the business already, but they still kind of believe in this credit stuff, but can't they just overlook it and just face whatever they want to do without even hoping from anything? Because I feel like when 80% is not getting, and we know that it's adding to the economic growth of the society, why can't we just do our thing ourselves without totally believe in the credit loan?
I think whenever you have access to credit, it helps you to scale your business. You can't actually replace it. So at one point or the another, during the growth of your business, you need that. But we've seen some companies that make that exception.
Exactly.
They don't even have access to credit and they are able to bootstrap their businesses and raise that. I think to anyone trying to break forth into the credit ecosystem, you just need to know what works. You need to know who is who. You need to actually either migrate on network with an individual who can actually introduce you to banking partners, banking managers, and all of that. And another thing that could just be done, a set of things that could be done generally, is that number one of the very serious thing that is difficult to do is, you want to actually evaluate people credit. So we need a digital score digitally score credit worthiness, like ability to determine the credit score of an individual or a citizen, right? Then we need to encourage credit guarantee schemes and credit insurance. We need to enforce open banking system, right? Open banking adoption. Then we need to incentivize lending to SME. Just imagine if you're in Europe as a business owner, you can take $1 million credit and you are just paying 0.5% back, 0.5% back, not even up to 1.5%. So you have that ability to make mistake, correct it, ability to be able to grow faster, quickly. That's someone from Africa, right? And this is very challenging. And also, there should be a kind of collaboration between fintech and the government, just like what Credit Corp is doing. But we should make it national. We should make it accessible, not just open to selected few individuals.
But then I want to ask this, because you talked about some of while listening to one of this, but I think you said something now about credit facilities and all that. I remember that there was a particular time some MSMEs were trying to get access to loans from even loan apps, the loan sharks and all those kind of things. And we saw the reckless kind of banking system those guys practice, or credit system those guys practiced with multiple business owners in Nigeria, to a point that multiple business owners were made to go out there and seek for funds hungrily because of the amounts of interest many of these loan apps we are giving onto them. Recently we saw CBN, that was even 2 weeks ago, maintaining their interest rates just like their monetary policies. They maintained almost everything on their monetary policies and still maintain their high interest rates so that people won't borrow majorly because of importation in the actual sense. Now, looking at this, don't you think even the government are just being lackadaisical with how the banking system has been towards MSMEs in the remaining 35 states in Nigeria, let me just say 34 states in Nigeria that actually have difficulties in accessing most of these loans?
Yeah, I think the government, I would just say maybe they are making efforts, but they just need to do more. They actually need to do more. They need to do more, right? So they need to make that conscious effort, like I said, to develop even secondary cities like Odunayo. And to comment on loan sharks, I mean, it is just a no-go area for business owner. Just imagine you are taking a loan, a credit from them, and you need to pay over 150% within a period of 9 months. It's not sustainable. And it's not even guaranteed that the business owner is going to even make up to 50% profit. So the man is already in debt from day one. So it's not sustainable to actually patronize loan shark. But sometimes people don't just have that choice, right? And that is why we see majority of businesses fail, because they took loan that the interest is so outrageously high. And I think the government also needs to be very particular about monitoring, right, regulating this loan shark. Imagine loan out charging up to 2% per day. I mean 2% per day. that is very, very high. That's very, very high. Even in other countries, 2%, that's what you are going to get as interest in a year. And this makes it very difficult to even use that to operate your business.
But then before we go further, let's take GoStart. Let's take a break. After this break, we come back and continue straight on our discussions for today. So please stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa, and yes, I hope you enjoyed GoStart. I hope you will do one or two things with what you've learned from GoStart today. But now it's time to return straight to our discussions, which we have been discussing with Sam Olubunmi, who happens to be a technologist and a businessman, on the issues and the struggles that MSMEs actually are passing through in Nigeria at this particular time. And we are taking a review of our business environment in the country on this discussion. So, Sam, I was thinking through some of these things we've discussed, and honestly, I'm beginning to see the fact that a lot of difficulties is attached to MSMEs in the country at this particular time. And honestly, I think to a very large extent that if we are not careful, there is no way out. Now, as a sharp solution to this, What do you think the government should do at this particular time? Because it's getting to a point where if we really want to meet our financial targets in these countries, MSMEs must at least have access to many of these loans. We've seen BOI try their best. We've seen in the last administration things like the youth empowerment funds and the likes. And though to a very large extent, some people still misused many of those privileges given by the government. Yesterday we were discussing about the fact that even the Anchor Borrowers program the government made available to farmers, many of them, according to the ex-aide to the former president Muhammad Buhari, the person of Bashir Ahmad, he said a lot of them abused that opportunity and diverted that funds to something else, which has caused a bit of distrust even from the part of the government towards many business owners in Nigeria. But then MSMEs are still very important to our economy. How do you think the government can come in to assist many of them at this particular time?
Okay. I think the first thing the government needs to do is to just unlock credit for MSME. And they should know that this is not charity. It is a strategic investment in GDP growth, job creation, and national stability. And there should be a way, almost every advanced country, and even some of the developing countries, they have a system of evaluating credit score. I think this should become a topic of discussion on a general or federal or on federal stage. There should be a way to evaluate credit score, right? And there should be a program. There should be program to sensitize people. You know, programs or any event or any partnership put together by the government should not just be open to selected few. It should be open. People should be educated. People should understand what they are going to. That okay, this is not a grant. So, and I think the government have started this, but we need to do it at a larger scale. Open banking adoption so that we can unlock more data-driven lending. So it won't just be like based on connection or based on places. It will be strictly based on data, right? And we should be able to relieve bank to lend to MSME. The government, CBN, should be able to insensitize bank, mandate bank to provide access and lend to MSME through maybe something like tax relief or risk sharing scheme, right? And also, just like I said, we should have a national platform whereby any citizen, any business owner could have equal, like fair access to MSME. And I think this, when this is put to play, is going to unlock the growth in our economy.
All right, speaking of assisting the MSME thing, I feel like, don't you think that there's a thing that they should do as a person now? Because 80% is a lot. Don't you think that the problem is actually from them? Or what step can they take to make them credit-worthy to this formal loan? What do you think they can do? What step can they take?
All right. I think the first thing to do is to make sure you have a strong accounting, you audit your business. I mean, this is so vital because any crediting firm, they want to see you have some certain we call it traction in the startup industry. They want to see you have traction, you have volume, you have liquidities and all of that going on, and this is going to be able to. That is why I'm just going back to we taking data-driven decision. So if you are an MSME business owner, you need to make sure that your business is accountable. You have an accounting department. You audit your business often. You know what is coming, what is going out. It's easier for bank to be able to calculate and evaluate you precisely. Then another thing to do is to network. So you need to network. If they won't bring the access to you, you just need to take the initiative on your own part. You need to network. You need to go to events. You need to meet with people. I mean, it should not be even hard for you to go into maybe the ministry, the department in charge of finances, creditings, and all of that, and make inquiry about any available opportunity. So you need to take initiative. You need to be accountable in your business. You need to audit often. You need to be able to, I mean, even mainly doing these three things, it has put you ahead of a lot of MSME.
That's put you ahead of a lot of MSMEs. That means that there are multiple MSMEs in Nigeria themselves who are not credit worthy because of this particular things they don't do. Is that what you mean?
Yes, definitely.
But then why will you be an MSME and not really know all these things at the same time?
Or even accountable.
Or not being accountable. What's your take on this full-blown when it comes to MSMEs in Nigeria, not knowing some of these particular steps to take in order to do business? You know, I'm saying this from the fact that there are many who they don't really know much things about the school system and all those kind of things. They just want to just do business and just earn money and all those kind of things. And though their business are legit, some of their business are even profitable, but then they don't have all these things you say. I think to a very large extent, I've seen people that carries even cows just and all that, and that's their business and all. They don't have all these things at the end of the day, and they still are able to access loans in the bank and all that. What's your take on this kind of anomalies sometimes in the business space?
Yes. Just like I said, larger percentage of our economy are informal, as you cite a typical example, right? So that is why there should be a deliberate orientation, a deliberate education. You don't just give people access to credit alone. You must provide resources. You must provide some level of education so that they will know. And another thing, just like places, is that you will see if you are into agriculture or any type of agricultural businesses, is if you are in the south part of the country, it's difficult for you to have access to credit. But if you are in the northern part of the country, it's very easy, and you don't even need to know much more of business. But for you to be ahead of your colleague, of your peers, you need to have some level of education about business, how to run your business effectively, what qualify you to be an MSME and all of that. I mean, when you go to banks and you go and you meet with them and you present, good numbers, because banks are also in need to make profit. That's one thing you should understand. So they know you've done your homework, your research and all of that, and they will be able to evaluate and give you the right credit. So I think it's important that even the government and even the society at large should, in one way or the other, should encourage education. I'm not just talking about formal education, right? I mean business. You should know how to run a business. You should know what it takes to run a business. The operation, there's the administrative side, there's the operational side of business. You should understand that. So it will really help you a lot to put you ahead of your peers. In Southwest or southern part of the country generally is competitive, and you want to stand out to be able to have access to MSME.
You need to stand out to have access to anything. That's something that I think many business owners need to know at this particular time and all that. But then let's talk a bit about the future gains or the disaster. Let's start with the disaster of if this continues, if this lingers. Do you think that if this issue of lack of credit for MSMEs lingers for quite some time in Nigeria, don't you think this is going to still cost us brutally if we are not very careful?
I mean, it's going to, we actually stifled the whole growth, the whole economy, and a lot of hardship will be unleashed. Just imagine, like, even from last year to this year, over $300 billion 300 billion naira rather has dropped as a result of this lack of access to MSME, right? So we need to make that conscious effort. It should not get to a place that this continue and perpetually, because it's going to hamper our economy. It's going to actually cause our growth to be stifled. So I think it's necessary as an MSME yourself to take that initiative, and on the government part and on the part of the banking partners, the banking ecosystem, to make deliberate efforts to create more buffer to actually take in and give access to a lot of MSME.
Give access to a lot of MSMEs. Now, if we're talking about government here, are we just talking strictly about the federal government? What about the state government?
What about the local government?
Even
what
the local
are they
government,
doing?
Do you think any of them really has, local governments particularly?
What are they doing to benefit their environment?
even when you're talking about database, we don't even have database in the country.
Just like, sorry, to quickly answer that, right, is that if the federal government is serious about doing this, they will also be serious about enforcing it. So there is power structure, there's leadership and all of that, and we know the federal government is above the state government, and the state government is now they are trying to separate the local government from the state government. When in a sense the local government is still inside the state. So I think if the federal government are serious about this, because like almost all the banks are directly under the federal government, one, and secondly is that they will have a way to enforce this. Authority flow from the up, from the head to the toe, right? So they will actually have a means to enforce this. And also, apart from that, just like I said, every part of the ecosystem, every part of the ladder should also make effort, like local government. So, back of industries. You know, the funniest thing is that the access and the resources that was even meant for a lot of people, especially in this part of the country, is that you can't have access to it except you know somebody. And I think that is one of the things the local government need to look into. That I don't need to know
somebody before you can have connection or access.
Before I have access to this. There's Bank of Agriculture in, majority of the local government. There's Bank of Industry at state level and all of that. So the state level too should make conscious efforts, sensitizing people, doing education and all of that. Then at their own level, I think some states are doing something like that, similar to that, like Oyo State and all of that. So majority of the states need to put this into practice by creating more opportunities for MSME. Right? And the local government should make it free and fair so that when access or resources are being given to local government,
they will not
just share it within themselves, and over 90% of the people will not even have access to this.
90% of people won't have access to this.
Because the rate at which people are being partial about this thing is very, very alarming. They will give you something to share to people in your community, and you will just sit on it alone, as if it's just a family thing. Honestly, it's so alarming.
Very alarming. But then it's the Nigerian way in the actual sense. It's the Nigerian way.
And the people that need it at most are dead. They don't have access to it.
They don't have access to it. And without the access, we can't get what we need at the top. Because at the end of the day, the fact that these people are not even having access to it
is affecting
our GDP and our growth at the end of the day. So if we are saying that the problem of Tinubu's government, or maybe the Nigerian government, is also the government themselves at various levels, who are not making sure that many of the goodies that should be coming from the top down should get to the people that it should get to. It's just like the whole issue of the loans and all those kind of things.
So what can you say about the solution in general now? Because I feel like there should be a solution. We've talked about people. We've talked about, but I think we still need to talk more about the
vital ways.
Yes. Because we've talked about the people, individuals, we've talked about the government, we talk about like generally the local government. So what other things can you see, or from your own perspective, what other solution can we put into practice to make this thing work and to make people have access to these credits?
I think another thing that could be done, I speak briefly on education, right? So regulation, monitoring and enforcing. I mean, like, about 70% of Nigeria do not even have the right understanding about credit.
So you think there should be reorientation for them?
You have access to credit for your business, they will just go ahead, lavish it. And it's not a grant, it's for you to do business. It's for you to return the credit at the end of your business operations and all of that. I think it's a conscious effort that needs to be done, from sensitizing, awareness, educational program, to actually make people to understand that, okay, this thing is causing harm to the government. Imagine, even recently the US embassy in Nigeria, the US mission in Nigeria, they were complaining. Imagine the government is saying there's no money, but they kept on spending and lavishing billions upon billions.
Yeah, governors especially.
Every single day. And even business that does not even need up to 1% of that do not have access to it, but they can conveniently splash billions on frivolities and all of that. And this actually can cause to the whole citizen. I think it's a conscious effort on all the party concerned, from the government to the banking, industry, I mean to the MSME themselves, and to the community, because majority of the time, perspective, a lot needs to be done about our mindset, even as a people, right? Many people have this negative perception about loan and all of that. And some of the time, they are justified because they have only been exposed to like loan shark, high risk loan, and all of that. So we need to do a deliberate education around that. I think this should just be the starting point, because this become more easier. And the government should also provide a means, apart from providing more access to credit, they should provide a means of accountability, monitoring everything and all of that. Just imagine, there was a time last year that the federal government wants to give grant to MSME, right? It's grant to, and imagine the person that facilitated IAD said it would take 80% of it. Then another middleman that actually bring the MSME, we take 100%. And the MSME will just receive 10% of the grant, or even 5% of the grant, depending on how many before it reach. So imagine if the government is giving you 10 million naira. At the end of the day, as a business owner, you receive 500k. So I mean, there must just be accountability, and that is why I'm talking about open banking system, credit score system. I mean, federally, so that the government can monitor this, and they should decentralize a bit, right? Services by everyone, the government majorly, the party concerned could monitor, and people can be held accountable and all of that. I think that will actually take us from somewhere and place us in a better place, even in our economy generally.
I think to a very large extent, I would have loved to know more about the open banking you're talking about, even though I have an idea of it, but for the sake of our viewers out there who don't know much about it, I think they will need a bit of clarity on it. But then aside from that, let's talk about something here. The place of the middlemen especially. Now, I was saying this recently about the fact that if you go to the Nigerian system, you will go to a particular place, maybe government contract itself. We've seen it happen multiple times. They will tell you, okay, they are portioning billions of naira to you for a particular contract. But you will find out that the contractor, maybe it's 10 billion they gave him. At the end of the day, begin to discover that it did not even get up to 700 million for the same thing he was asked to do. And a lot of middlemen take seats away. Now, that is corruption in its high form, because honestly, it's brutal. But then, let's know a bit about the open banking first. Then, after the open banking, just help us talk about how to deal with middlemen that affect. Or do you think the open banking itself can deal with the issue of the middlemen who happens to be very corrupt enough to not make money get to the people that it's supposed to get to?
Yes, I think that we actually solve that in a way. Like the federal government, right, they digitalize this process. Okay, they put up a form. I don't need to know someone. I can just go there, fill it up, and I know that the whole thing will not be sorted based on maybe region or based on other factors, right? So open banking, the whole idea about it is just making all our financial system very transparent, that there's no ambiguity, there's no middleman. The whole essence is to eliminate the middleman, right? You can approach the banking partners, the bank directly and make your request, and they could actually look at your transaction history, even if you are not using their bank, right? It's like you put into like, it's kind of decentralized in a way. Your data, your access, your controls, everything can be accessed by any bank, right? Maybe you have an account with Access. You can go to GTB without having an account with them, because in a way they will have access to your data and they can make informed decisions. So you don't need another middleman. Like for you to go to Bank of Industry or Bank of Agriculture, which is very, very important in this discussion, you don't need to submit form manually. You don't need to open new bank with them. they have access to all your inventory, your data, and everything. So it's much more easier for them to make informed decision because of that. And because everything is the old data, not everything is centralized, and access is open to anyone to actually report into, it will be built to the highest standard. You know, it's funny that majority of our servers in Nigeria before like 100,000 people, 100,000 people traffic, it will begin to crash and all of that. So we need to build something robust, something that can sustain even our population, right? So for consumer, one of the benefits is that it makes it easier to switch between banks. It makes you to have take your account and all of that. You have planning to, then you will also even have access to personalized financial service. And for even MSME or startup, like you'll be able to build support into this government-backed system effortlessly. Like I can just wake up, create around this MSME, knowing fully directly I'm receiving the whole offer, the whole credit. I can port into the CBA on the federal and offer the user directly without any middleman, without me going through submitting application into an office and all of that. Then it will be easier for bank to collaborate with fintech directly to even offer this even to rural areas and secondary city, like we said.
All right, thanks so much, Sam, for the whole discussion. Really appreciate this discussion with you, and thanks for sharing your time with us at this particular time. We hope that we discuss this further as time goes by in Nigeria. We hope that multiple changes are made in that area in Nigeria. A lot needs to be said, but we'll keep generating conversations around this cycle to ensure that Nigerian economy gets better and MSMEs can access as much loan as possible that they need at this particular time, so that the economy can grow, and maybe at the end of the day we can achieve our $1 trillion economy as we have always talked about in Nigeria. But then it's time to take sport, and immediately after sport we'll come back and share our conclusions on Daybreak Africa. Stay with us, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. If just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa. I hope you enjoyed sport, but then it's time to say our goodbyes on Daybreak Africa today in the actual sense. Woo! Beautiful discussion. Beautiful discussion with him.
And it was very educative and enlightening.
Yeah.
I like the way you just pick the point, explain it, bring the solution, and everything was just going the.
But then it's aside from that, but then great discussion, sad realities, sad exposures into things that are happening in the business world in the actual sense.
And the part where you mentioned the business owner who does not even know the right thing to do
with their business.
You are not accountable. Honestly, that's really, really wrong.
No, that's wrong. But here is my problem is, many of them don't know about these things. But even the ones that knows about it and are doing the right things, they are not still getting access to those. Whereas there are many who don't even know all these things and do multiple informal businesses, and they have access.
And that's where connection comes in.
Not only connection. I think to a very large extent, many governmental bodies in this country are not doing the right thing they are supposed to do to let their people access some privileges. Let's be truthful with ourselves.
I think I will pick from what Samson said yesterday when he was talking about the real farmers that are giving loans. The real farmers are not people who are staying in Abuja. The real farmers are in the bush. Who are those people that have access to the loans?
Do you know the funny thing? As much as we want to castigate and say, okay, the North are taking a largesse of some of the privileges that the government is giving out, we must also look at the fact that probably many of the political bigwigs in the northern part of the country, yes, the southerner might think is cheating and all those kind of things. Many of them that are taking this largesse from the northern hemisphere, they are concerned about their people more than even the southern bodies that are involved in governance in this country. Is the harsh truth. It's the same thing I began to recently think about colonial masters in Nigeria that came to Africa and all that, and feel they had great love for their country. That was why they did everything, even though they went through means that are very wicked. But at least they had concern for their country. Okay, now we have been independent. Let's ask ourselves one truth. Many of them that have gone into governmental offices, what is the value they have added to their people? Aside from, now I'm not talking, now this is not, we know that for the federal government, you are the father of everybody, or the mother of everybody, though we've never had a female president in Nigeria, but you are the mother or father of everybody. Let's talk about state governors, House of Rep members, senators, local government, MHRs. How much have you helped people in your community to access loans like this? If a senator today comes and say, okay, I have 10 farmers in my community, I have business owners in my community that needs to access these loans, and goes to banks and tell them, please, let my people access loans like this.
They won't say no.
They won't say no.
They won't
because
say no.
The fact that a senator is coming to be their guarantor, they will access loans like this. They will definitely get multiple loans and credit systems that will help them to build their businesses. And even because of the fact that the senator will not want to spoil his reputation, or maybe the House of Representatives, it will ensure that these guys pay back. It will ensure they pay back. I think to a very large extent, governments at every level in this country needs to do better than what they are doing right now. He said something that was was heartbreaking. The place of middlemen, even when these government grants are coming, many of these middlemen, they are
too greedy,
extremely greedy. How will they give someone something of 10 million at the end of the day? You are saying that maybe you are just getting 1.5 out of the 10 million grants you are getting. And we are saying that Nigeria is a bad country. The country is not improving. The government is terrible. This is happening.
What about you?
We are the terrible
little
people.
Ones in your care.
The little
How
ones
are
in your
you
care. How are you
doing
taking care of them? So we need to be very sincere with ourselves in this country. We are not doing the right thing. And we need to begin to work out ways to ensure that the right thing is done so that our country can grow. It's sad. Honestly, it's sad. I think maybe that open banking you talked about is going to be very good. And yeah. But then, let's just leave it here for today on Daybreak Africa. There are lots of things to still discuss, but then we'll pen them tomorrow. We're going to be having the entertainment actually, but till we get there, ladies and gentlemen, my name still remains Ikhonede Joshua Odeji.
And my name is Miracle Odunayo. Bye,
guys.